not sure if it's actually... Are we... Is it up? Is it up? Hold on a second. Yeah, so I found out... yeah, there are actually some post-session... I was wondering, like, some of the stuff that popped up. I was like, I wonder... I should find out, like, sooner rather than later to see if this is something to watch. Or if there's something else to do. It turns out there is. There's actually a whole other set of things that you can watch. Like the cinema scenes that you can check out. So I wanted to go back and get those taken care of. So... maybe if I was in... Okay, so... Hold on a second. Probability alpha. Okay, so this is some stuff that showed up. Right, this is the rate of the Monty Hall problem. The question answer will be the same. Yeah, right. Speaking wrong one, simply better. Okay, so Latin phrase. Applaud the play is over. Right, we saw that one in VLR. Interesting. And the dooming gods are down to tears. Computers function by storing data as ones and zeros in a binary number format. Right. So, I think... this would be Fate. Don't you remember? You told me yourself. I'm just looking at some of these. So most of this stuff is explained during the game, I think. Wait a minute. Post-apocalypse. This must be Fate. Sigma's question, don't you remember you told me that yourself? Me? I never said it. If it was really me, then yes, the Sigma who's 67 inside. Dinah shifts her frail hand closer to Sigma and he gently grasps it between his own. Sigma before her is not the one who was trapped in the shelter. It's the same body but different consciousness. On April 13th, 2029, Sigma is at the headquarters of Crash Keys. His eye and arms replaced with robotic ones. There, the young Sigma returns to his body for 45 years in the future and begins to carry out Akani's instructions. How many years has it been since you came here, Diana? A little over 3, I think. I followed you here in May 2029. A violent coughing fit takes over as she speaks. Sigma helps her sit up and softly pats her back until it subsides. Why didn't the medical pod work? I told you it's Fate. Diana's skin is deathly pale, but her eyes still shine with life, just like a child's. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff here that actually is all stuff that I haven't looked at. So I guess I'll just go through these from the beginning. Decision Lounge, yeah, the X door only once. 6 passes. The X door to open. Every death is a single. That means, okay, so that one we already know. Active times for all teams max out at 90 minutes once that expires. Fall into deep sleep, forget everything that happened. Map of 4D. The Gabe letter, this is the thing that we saw, yeah. So a lot of these I think are things we already saw during the game. But I think some of them take place after certain endings. There's the first version of that. Concept of shifting, which I don't think actually had a name back in Virtue's Last Reward. Crash Keys, which we know about. Aoi is second in command and distinct from the outside. We never really find out much about what happens to Aoi. Heather figures a mysterious figure called Brother. The hydrofluoric acid, yeah, the highly corrosive stuff. DCOM is not a government-run facility. It's privately owned by a company researching space development. The company is largely owned by Free the Soul, but that detail is kept hidden from all knowledge. Oh, okay, so they actually... yeah, that would have been immediately suspicious, I suppose. Technically, Radical 6 did not kill 6 billion people, caused chaos and panic around the world. It's those explosions which led to the 6 billion deaths. Nucleus, central computer transporter, input pods, output pods. This is all stuff we found out during the game. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that, like that post-apocalypse setup, that we wouldn't know from the game. this was explained in the game. Yeah, a whole bunch of different elements. They didn't list them all out, but yeah, it's a lot of stuff that's in selection of the atmosphere, or selection of the elements. A lot of things that would be needed for material production. Reverie syndrome. The brain cannot handle the amount of information in the brain as in effect shuts down. The cause of this is currently unknown. Okay. The incinerators are required at least temperatures of at least 1560 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 seconds to ensure proper material breakdown. Human creation occurs at 14 to 2100. Interesting. There's the third gab letter. 2 to the 100 is, okay, 1, 2, 3, 10 sets of zeros, which I guess makes sense because 2 to the 10th is like 1,000, well, a little more than 1,000, so 2 to the 100th will be a little more than 1 with 10 sets of zeros. Antidote hint. Oh, yeah, for when we solve the antidote problem. Because this actually, I'm guessing this could have been different every time. So, but yeah, it's a binary solution. Basically, with 3 ones or zeros, you can determine 8 different values. There was this one, death is certain, its hour is uncertain. Okay, so some of the Latin phrases that were used during the game. There was the this was the one of the parasites that was talked about, which actually wasn't actually the explanation for things, but well, I guess it kind of was, because he's kind of like a parasite in that he can hack into minds and control them. So it wasn't me that forced them to press those buttons. It was all Zero's fault. He actually did it. So yeah, I don't feel bad anymore. Yeah, this is the other one they talked about, and then here's the one that's related to fear of cats. So those were talked about. Multiverse and single path. This was something they did a diagram for this. The player chooses left path and he ends up abducted by terrorists. Try the second time, it's like the right path, but is hit by a truck and permanently handicapped. Getting annoyed, you sigh, go back to choose the last route, straight down the middle. He runs across a man attacking a girl from an affluent family and fights him off. Live together happily. The game is mostly over is considered interesting. Video game structure can help explain. Protagonist P travels down a road until he reaches a 3-way fork. You, the player, choose the left path, and P ends up abducted by terrorists and hold up an underground cell forever. You try a second time, selecting the right path. You avoid the terrorist, but he's hit by a truck and permanently handicapped. Getting annoyed, you sigh and go back to choose the last route, straight down the middle. P comes across a man attacking a girl from an affluent family and fights him off. The girl and P fall in love, get married, and live happily forever. By this point, the game is mostly over. Is the ascending is considered the best end, but is it really? Taking the multiverse theory into consideration, the P who chose the left path must think, why am I not the P who chose the center path and instead stuck in the cell? But if there's only one world, then LP's history disappears once P chooses the center path. Some of you may be thinking, then why isn't it just a straight road? But it's not that simple. What about what happens when the P picked the right path? He gets into an accident, but after extensive rehab, wins a gold medal at the Paralympics. He marries a beautiful wife, has several children. By the time he's old, there are many grandchildren too. So consider again, if the world is one single path, what about RP's life? Where does his glory go? What about his happiness with his family? If there is only one who remains with CP and with his rich wife, is that true happy end? The answer is that there isn't. There isn't the true happy end. They're just different endings. It's something that was kind of similar to what Junpei, or should I say Tenmyoji, brings up at the end of Virtue's Last Reward, where I've since found out that that's considered a non-canonical ending, or at least some parts of it are, but it's still interesting to think about. This fourth gab letter, search the family portrait, because of I missed the image that Carlos saw at the time. It just didn't register or something. Active time. Okay, so this explains, what was going on, like the actual structure for when they were active and moving around. So, I guess Q was really just only active during the points of Q Team. It's just that we never actually saw his body. and it was just sort of assumed that Sean was the one who was in his play, who was acting as quote unquote Q. So yeah, so I guess it did make sense that there were times when he wasn't alive. So it actually would the things that would actually kill him. That's why. Okay, so when Sean got stabbed, it wasn't because he was a robot that Q wasn't dead. It was because he wasn't Q. So Q was actually still alive in that timeline, but probably just sitting there. So I guess that explains that then. But then, presumably, in the team where they were executed, they just didn't show his head or whatever, or they didn't show his body, and the Seans probably moved it so that you wouldn't see that information, you wouldn't know that information. Because he's essentially playing the player as well. Wards C, Q, and D being in the same space means the air ducts in the prep room and lounge don't lead to other wards. Inside is simply a small space for Gab, where he often rests on a rug. Yeah, that makes sense. So, 17 years ago, yeah, a young mother went jogging in the park. She reached a fork where she usually goes right, and this day decided to go left because there was a snail in the path. No one knew why she avoided the snail. Was she afraid of them? Or felt a sense of danger from it? Whatever the case may be, the snail caused her to switch to the left path. As a result, she was killed by a girl, which, as we find out later. The suspect who was taken into custody, a Japanese man, was not the culprit. He was falsely convicted and executed, and his wife committed suicide in her grief. The two left young children behind. The convicted man called a taxi before his arrest, but the taxi ended up picking up another fare instead, a brilliant surgeon. However, the car became involved in an accident, killing the surgeon as well as the young boy who was waiting for an operation by the surgeon. If the snail hadn't been in the right path 17 years ago, what would have happened? So I believe the implication is that this man and his wife are actually Akane and Aoi's parents. And then the surgeon who is going to work on a young boy, the young boy is Sean. So essentially that's how that ties into our current story. Anagram, right. So then there was the post-apocalypse one. Yeah, this is Diana and Sigma in the future. I've always dreamt of coming here. Did you know that Diana is the name of the goddess of the moon? I've always wanted to do this ever since I was little, so I'm perfectly fine with dying here. What are you saying? I've been able to spend the last 3 years living with you, Sigma. I've treasured every moment. Sigma lowers his head, his expression pain. Please don't make that face. You don't need to be sad. In the year 2074, you will shift back to Christmas 2028, and the next day, old me will head to the decom facility in the Nevada desert and meet you. Diana nods. Sigma closes his eyes and shakes his head. That's not it. I mean, I'm in love with you. His declaration stops as Diana's lips close over his in a kiss, and the rest of his words are lost. After a moment, Diana murmurs, "It must be a wonderful future, the future where we found each other in 2028. Sigma holds onto her tightly. Aching, heartfelt sobs echo within a cold, silent world. Yeah. It's rough. Both love and luck help the bold. Yeah, I think that's the one where he got shot, I think. In the perceptive ending. I think that was that one. If metempsychosis really exists, what are the chances you are an intelligent life form in your next life as opposed to everything else? Taking a number of things into account, everything else has a much greater chance. But if you were reborn as a duck, frog, or even a paramecium, there would be no way you'd be able to know and recognize your own existence. In effect, it's not any different from being a sponge or a rock. That being said, rocks and sponges don't have wills of their own, aside from a few notable exceptions, so you wouldn't care about your next life. Why would you? I suppose. For example, you're in a totally dark room with a die in front of you. If you roll a 1, the lights turn on, but any number keeps the light off. You can roll it as many times as you wish, so what will the dice number be when you see it? 1, of course, because you can't see any other result. Another example, the whole world and everything on it stops in the next second. Exactly a minute later, disregarding who would be the one timing this, it all starts up again. No one will even notice that time stopped. In other words, there's no point to considering that 1 minute, as you can't say that it even existed. It's the same as being reborn a duck, frog, or yellow sponge that die in the dark in the halted world. There are scholars who claim that if metempsychosis is absolutely true, you're guaranteed to be reborn as an intelligent life form. It's possible this is a result of the observable selection effect and an aspect of the anthropic principle. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is like a lot of the ideas, the quote unquote supernatural ideas being considered here are, I guess, technically not necessarily supernatural. It's just that you don't really have any way of proving them or like observing them or whatever, because it's basically outside of our potential consciousness, short of somebody suddenly gaining the ability to do that sort of thing, which so far I don't think any of us have. So until that happens, it's the same as if it was untrue. It's something you can't observe anyway. But it's interesting to think about. Mother Dolorosa, the sorrowful mother stood. Yeah. These people go through some rough stuff in this game. It's also one of the things that, like, I was talking about, whether or not I like this game compared to the previous ones. This one was also a lot more gruesome than the previous couple of games. I mean, we saw some death happen in the first two games, and we didn't actually see, like, you don't actually, it doesn't actually show the moment that, like, stuff happens, but, like, people screaming and, like, there's clearly some implied things happening. It was a lot rougher in the first two games, and I admittedly was uncomfortable a couple of times, but at least they didn't actually show any of the stuff, so it's not like it could have been a lot worse. So I think it's okay. Popularly held belief that our language center resides on the left side of the brain, but recent research has revealed the side differs among individuals. Roughly 30 to 50% of those with their language center in the right hemisphere end up left-handed, while only a small percentage are right-handed. The side containing the language center is called the major hemisphere. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, like, what are the differences between the ways that people are different. Like how many people are left-handed, how many people are right-handed, that sort of thing, and like how that works out. I think we saw these. Yeah, the play is over. Fate and the Dooming Gods are deaf to tears. And then we saw this stuff about the Monty Hall problem, which, yeah, that's another thing we found out during the game. Quantum computers, yeah, I mean, they kind of explained a lot of it in the game as well. The robot's name, yeah, the robot with the round helmet on his head is named Sean. He has never been called anything other than that by those in the underground shelter. Yeah, that's just something you don't realize until, like, it actually gets mentioned, first in the kind of goofy bonus ending thing, but then also normally over the course of the story. The other Phi, here we go. Yeah, so Baby Phi was indeed transported from 1904 to 2008, but Phi also remained in 1904. Yeah, that's right, because it duplicates them. It doesn't, like, send them. It's basically different from the Star Trek transporters, where they actually, like, I don't know what exactly they do to you, but essentially they reconstruct you in another location. You'd have to ask someone who's much more knowledgeable about the specifics of how stuff works in Star Trek. I've watched the show, I've enjoyed the show, I haven't gotten into it that much to know those particulars. But I am aware that, like, they've had some discussion on, like, okay, well, if there is a teleporter like that, does it kill? It kind of technically kills you and creates someone else in the new location. Whereas in this machine, it doesn't actually kill the original, it just sort of creates the copy. Rumor has it she became a brilliant scientist and worked into a research facility in the U.S. well into her hundreds. The facility was researching the transporter, and that's where the Phi from 1904 is sent. Huh. Interesting. So, it's possible that, like, because didn't she mention that, like, an old couple of researchers took her in the early 2000s? So it's possible that's, like, her other self. I'm guessing that's what the implication is for them. Okay, so here we go. Post payoff. I don't know if these will actually be cinemas or not, but okay, I guess it's not actual videos. It's just what am I saying? They're just text. It's just text that tells you what happens. So anyways, the day is bright and clear. A girl in a white dress strolls along the beach, the wind tossing her long blonde hair playfully until a half a year ago she had been confined to a bed. Carlos's eyes still tear up every time he sees her smile. Come on, Carlos, you don't always have to help me. That's the point of my rehab. Oh, you're right. Sorry, Maria. Carlos brushes her hair out of her face. It's definitely not the summer sun that's making him act out of sorts. It's the fact that his sister is here standing before him. Maria grins up at him. What would Kane and Junpei say if they saw you being all fussy like this? It's fine. They understand how important you are to me. Both you and Junpei put your lives on the line. That was a different history. But going through that means we know how to treat reverie syndrome. I can't believe we have the ability to jump through space-time. I'm just glad you're able to control it now. It's all because Carlos met Akane and Junpei that Maria was able to recover. He just wishes he could show them just how well she's doing. Actually, put some music on. Here. What can I jump to? It would have some good music. I do really like that one thing that plays in the jukebox, but I don't know. Is there somewhere else that plays that music? I can try it. Rec room, yeah. I could get this. Because, let's see. I got input here, let's test it out. What's up, Wheelman? That means you got the answer right. No way, I just put in the first thing I thought of. I'm trying to remember like what all I have to do. I need water. Yeah. We need these. We need the matches. This box. Anything else with this? Already knew that. Already know we can't do that until box in. Oh wait, go fire out first. Okay, that wasn't it. Right, we need the dice for this one. Which we have to get out of the jukebox. Which we have to open this thing up, I think? Oh, right, we use the hook for that. I think. Yeah. Cylindrical piece came out. It's pretty tricky. What was it? Rook, Bishop, King. I'm trying to remember how you actually get this open. Slot the card. Oh, right. No. It wasn't that one, it was another card. Do I have to solve the heart puzzle again? I think I have to solve the heart puzzle again. Oh no, wait. I think I just pulled the slot machine that gives me the... No, it gives me the pieces. I think these... yeah. Is there nothing else that gave me card? I do think I have to do this. I think I remember what the solution was. Remember now. I want to say it was something like this. I think this was it. No, go in there. I realize this was a lot of effort. Just to be able to play this one song again while I read some other stuff that's happening. So, apologies if you were just like, dude, just get to reading the stuff already. But, anyways. Thinking about them right now, aren't you, Carlos? What makes you say that? Because you're smiling. Carlos closes his eyes as his unconscious smile turns fond. They're just about your age. It kind of feels like I gained a brother and another sister. You are going to their wedding, aren't you? Yeah, and you're coming with me. But there's something Carlos needs to do first. Back when the three of them parted ways. I'll be waiting to hear word from you when you locate that terrorist. Carlos held his right hand out toward Akane and Junpei, and the other two grabbed onto it with their own. There was no way of knowing if Delta was telling the truth, but if he was, one fanatic would kill off all of humanity. Akane and Junpei vowed to find this person, and Carlos offered help. He can still feel the strong bond between the three of them, their hands clasped together tightly. I suppose we better get used to talking more before the wedding, huh? Holding her hair out of her face, Maria reaches out to her brother, who takes her hand in his, and they continue walking down the beach. The same blue sky above them stretches over friends Carlos knows he can rely on. So, yeah, so Maria got better, and they're, you know, Akane and Junpei are gonna get married and try to find this crazy terrorist. Junpei sits upon a white sofa somewhere within the secret location of Crash Keys, twiddling a pen and sighing. What else should I say? Laying on the table in front of him is a half-written letter. Suddenly, Akane pops up behind him. What are you doing, Junpei? She playfully teases. Gah! Junpei dives for the letter, but she snatches it from his fingers and begins reading. Let's see. Carlos, without you, Akane... Oh, that's right, I forgot it changes. Oh well, whatever. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit, though. Alright, no, wait. Carlos, without you, Akane and I would have never gotten together. Thank you. This is an invitation to the wedding? No, it's most definitely not. He makes a grab for the paper, but Akane moves it quickly out of his reach. It's just a progress report, Junpei mutters. Okay, yeah, I mentioned the wedding, but the date hasn't been set yet. I made a promise to you and your brother. We wouldn't get married until we've dealt with the fanatic. Akane's face flushes bright red. She hastily hides her face behind the letter and goes back to reading. I'd like nothing more than to get the approval and blessing of our old friends, and those of you we met 6 months ago. Eyes wide, Akane glances up at Junpei. He avoids her gaze, awkwardly scratching the back of his head. You know, there's a history where I keep searching for you, even after I'm old and craggly. It still exists out there somewhere, and when I think of that, a sharp pain jolts through Junpei's face. Akane is pinching his cheek. Ow, that hurts. What are you doing? To prove to you that this isn't a dream, Akane giggles. You still can't believe that we're together like this. Well, you need to sit in my lap and be good. And not almost be falling out of it and being clawing onto me to try and hang on. So, just sit here and I'll pet you. Cat's getting riled up a little bit, so. Junpei shakes his head. You've changed a lot, Junpei. Half a year ago, you were never this honest. It's like, how do I want to describe it? Like a dream? Huh? Junpei leans in and quickly pinches Akane. Oh, now you've done it. She darts forward and goes after Junpei with both hands, getting in a pinch wherever she can, and Junpei does the same. Once they start laughing, it's very hard to stop, and they keep going until they're out of breath. I guess this is all thanks to Carlos, too. That's why I'm writing that thank you letter. Akane's left hand, a ring glitters on her ring finger. Aww. They finally get together. After years of alternate timelines of being apart. Sean, Eric, and Mira. Okay, this is going to be interesting because... Well... Hey Mira, how are you feeling? Are you lonely? Come on, Eric. You visited last week. Eric smiles wryly and reaches out to Mira with his left hand. Mira does the same, and their hands with matching silver rings align on either side of the plexiglass window. Ah, I brought a new guest to see you today. Eric shifts to the side and a head pops into view. Hey Mira, a long time no see. It's Sean, right? Yeah, I'm happy you remembered. Behind Mira, the sun is shining through an iron-barred window, lighting up the visitor room. It's been a long time, Sean. It's good to see you. The smile that appears on her face is real. Mira no longer needs to plaster on a fake one. When I heard that you turned yourself in, I was really surprised. Eric was the one who convinced me. He said I should pay for my sins so we could be together. So that's why you got married in jail. Eric ducks his head shyly. Are you sure you're okay with this? Mira asks. He looks at her in confusion. Don't you regret marrying me? I did carve your heart out in another history. Isn't that what you said, Sean? Yeah, you did. Eric looks Mira straight in the eye. I've already told you this a bunch of times. I forgive you, no matter what happens. Besides, you haven't killed me in this history yet, right? Yet. Mira's lips would twist dryly. But the Heart Rippers killed people already. So many. Sean, stop it. Eric turns angrily on Sean and Mira's face falls into a frown, but Sean continues speaking. You turned yourself in, Mira, but that doesn't mean you've paid for all the crimes you did. I doubt the family and friends that were left behind would forgive you even if you were put on death row. There's no way you can clear your sins here. Mira grits her teeth. But there is a way to clear them. Well, not what you've already done, technically. You'll have to pay for those with your whole life. That will never change, but maybe you can in another universe. Suddenly, Sean's fist crashes through the plexiglass window. Ah! Mira jumps backward while Eric is frozen in shock. What are you... Eric can't even finish speaking before Sean moves. Jumping through the broken window, he kicks the outside wall of the visitor room, causing it to crumble and reveal a giant hole. An alarm immediately starts blaring and police officers rush into the room, but Sean darts forward and takes them all down in a blink of an eye. He holds his hand out to Mira. Let's go. Go where? I know where the transporter is being stored. You're saying we should go change history, Eric finally stutters. Sean nods. To stop young Mira from committing murder. Mira, I'm pretty sure that's the only way you can clear your sins. Mira stares out through the hole in the wall at the horizon extending beyond. So they're gonna go create yet another timeline where Mira doesn't kill anyone. Although, technically, isn't that... Mira isn't Mira implied to be the one who killed the lady because of the whole snail thing? Where is it? The murder 17 years ago. Yeah, she was killed by a girl, so that's presumably Mira's... I think they mentioned that as Mira's first victim. So if they go back in time and change it so that Mira never kills anyone, then this entire thing doesn't happen. And then who knows what happens in that future. But it'd be interesting. So that was cool. Yeah, just a little bit of an extra thing. Sorry it ended up taking more time to play this than was probably necessary, but you know, I'm still enjoying it, so yeah, so that's why that's like that. Interesting. Huh. Well, anyways, how do I go back? I guess I don't actually need to save. I can just... Oh, right, the save option, duh. Okay, so that'll do it for real. But I was glad I went back and read that. That was cool to get the little epilogue of what happens to them afterwards. So yeah, now for real, gonna wrap this up, close things out. Like I said in the previous video, I don't know, I might do another game sometime soon, we'll see, might not, might play some other games that I wouldn't want to stream. But until then, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a good evening, and I'll catch you later.